Welcome to Crimson Tales, where love burns, bullets fly, and vengeance never sleeps. Each story will keep you hooked till the end. Romance that hurts, action that thrills, revenge that satisfies. Dive into narrated novels, episodic story series, and original tales, where every chapter is charged with emotion, suspense, and heart-stopping turns. Subscribe now and be part of a world where love is a battlefield. A young man is lying on the ground of a destroyed castle. He is covered in blood, missing an arm, and barely moving, but still alive. All around him are dead bodies. Some of them look human, but others can only be described as monstrosities. Creatures with dark, leathery skin, ugly faces, and horns. On the other side of the room lies an older man. He has his back against a very beautifully decorated throne. The man has very inhuman features, almost snake-like. The young man raised his head with difficulty to look at the dead figure of his worst enemy, resting peacefully against his throne, at the heart of what was once Hogwarts. "I hope you rot in hell," the man said before. He started coughing blood. He knew that his time was near too, but he didn't mind that. After losing everyone that he cared about, death will be welcome as an old friend. The man then laid his head back on the floor and closed his eyes. He was very tired. Flashes of past events started to appear in his mind. His name was once Harry Potter. His parents were murdered by a dark lord who called himself Voldemort. He had a terrible childhood at the hands of his muggle relatives, who he rather not remember. At the age of 11, he discovered that he was a wizard and attended Hogwarts. He made many friends that will become like his family in time. Ron Weasley, Neville Longbottom, Luna Lovegood, Hermione Granger, and Ginny Weasley. During his 4th year, Voldemort came back from the dead, and the Second Wizard War started. Afterward, Dumbledore decided to trust Harry with all of his secrets about the prophecy and the Horcruxes, and together they went hunting for them. Unfortunately, during his 6th year, some Death Eaters managed to infiltrate the school, and the headmaster was killed. Harry had to continue the hunt with the help of his friends, and by the time Harry was in his 7th year, they had destroyed all but one of them. At the end of his 7th year, Voldemort decided to launch an all-out attack against Hogwarts to gain control of the castle and kill the boy who lived. But Harry was not an easy target to kill. During his 5th and 6th years, Dumbledore had personally trained him, and Harry had proven to the headmaster why he was the child of the prophecy. Harry had a natural gift with magic, especially transfiguration, much to the old man's joy. During his duel with Voldemort, Neville, Ron, and Hermione had managed to find Nagini, the last Horcrux, and Neville finished the snake off with the sword of Gryffindor. Thanks to everyone's efforts, Harry was able to kill Voldemort by severing his head with a cutting charm. It was the first time that Harry had to actually kill someone, and he hoped it would be the last. With Voldemort gone for good, his remaining Death Eaters fled the country, and peace returned once more. Harry and his friends were able to finish their studies in peace. After graduation, Harry went on to finish his mastery of transfiguration under Headmistress McGonagall, since he wanted to become a teacher like the former headmaster once was. After Ginny graduated from Hogwarts, she moved in together with Harry. The two of them had been dating since Harry's 6th year and had been inseparable since then. They got married 2 years after that. This was the happiest period of their lives, but it did not last long. Just 2 weeks after their wedding, Voldemort returned, and he was not alone. No one understood how Voldemort survived at the time. It would take many more years before Harry discovered that he himself was an accidental Horcrux, created on the day of his parents' death. After coming back to life, thanks to his most loyal followers' help, Voldemort understood that one of his Horcruxes must still be left somewhere, one that he did not create willingly. But he could not rely on that anymore, so in order to secure his survival, he turned to a branch of magic that even the darkest of wizards would refuse to touch: demonology. The world where the Dementors once came from was known as the Demon World. It is possible to contact those creatures and ask for boons in exchange for something of equal value. What Voldemort wanted was to be immortal, and the price asked was to open a gate and allow demons into our world once more. Voldemort did not hesitate to sell out the human race, and so he came to Hogwarts with an army of Death Eaters and demons at his side. Many died that day, including McGonagall, Hagrid, and Ginny, who was just visiting her husband. Severus Snape gave up his life to make sure that Harry could escape, something that greatly surprised Harry since the man had never liked him, no matter how good he was at potions. The war started once more, and it was clear from the beginning that it was very one-sided. The demons were too powerful and too numerous. Voldemort had also grown in power, and even Harry was not his match anymore. After 20 years of war and losing everyone he cared about, Harry made one last-ditch attempt to at least kill Voldemort. The Statute of Secrecy was broken years back, and the Muggles were doing a good job at killing the demons. Harry thought that if he could get rid of Voldemort, the world would have a chance of survival. He knew from the beginning that this was a suicide mission, but he had to try. Not that he had much to lose. With the help of some Muggle soldiers and some of the last wizards and witches in existence, they made their attack. After the start of the Third War, Harry had not rested one moment in training himself. He had to give up many of the values taught to him by Dumbledore and started to learn all sorts of magic. Dark or light, didn't matter, as long as it got the job done. And now he had his chance to fight Voldemort one last time. It was very close. Voldemort had learned many tricks over the years, and he was also wearing a protective amulet given by some powerful demon. As long as he had it on his persona, he could not die. It cost Harry an arm, but managed to take the amulet away from him, and the moment he did so, the amulet turned into dust, much to Voldemort's dismay. One painfully long duel later, Harry finally claimed his victory and then died, along with the last Horcrux, eliminating any chance of Voldemort rising once more. Darkness for an unknown amount of time. He could not see or feel anything, but he was still existing for some reason. Then images started to appear, memories again, but those were not his memories. He was sure of that. A young girl was looking at him with tears in her eyes and fury on her face. She had dark red hair and green eyes. She reminded Harry of his mother for some reason. Whoever it was, that girl was very angry with him and was yelling non-stop. The image went away and was replaced by another one. An adult man was looking down at him, his face filled with disappointment as he shook his head. Harry would have gasped if he could. He knew who this man was. He has seen many pictures of him. The man was James Potter, his father. But who is his father talking to? Who is the owner of these memories? And why is he watching them now? As the images went away, darkness welcomed Harry once more, and things went back to how they were before. It was impossible to tell time, but after a while, another image appeared, and he knew it was another memory. An adult redhead woman was kneeling down and hugging a child. Harry was surprised once more. The woman was the vivid image of his mother, and the child she was hugging seemed to be the little girl from before, and she seemed to be injured as there was a stain of blood on her dress. Her mother turns to look at him, or the owner of these memories at least. Lily Potter is angry, very angry, but there is also a lot of sadness in her eyes and disappointment once more. As the images went away, darkness welcomed him once more. After some more time, something changed. Harry could feel something. This was a surprising fact, because he hadn't felt anything for a very long time, but now he could feel his body somehow. He tried to focus on that feeling, and then started to hear very distant voices. Healer, healer. A female voice seems to be calling in distress. Look, he's moving. The same female voice said, Merlin, you are right. He is waking up, a male voice said. The light then started to tear away the darkness that Harry had grown accustomed to. Harry, oh my God, please come back to us, the female cried. She was calling his name, and her voice sounded so familiar. Harry put all of his effort into opening his eyes, and more light covered his vision until the darkness was no more. Everything was white, and his eyes started to adjust again. He then realized that he was looking at a plain white ceiling. Harry, the woman called his name.
Mr. Potter, can you hear me? The man asked.
Harry turned his head towards the voices, and there it was. The woman from those memories was staring at him with tears in her eyes. He tried to speak, but was unable to. The woman jumped on his bed and hugged him while crying. Oh, thank Merlin. We thought we lost you, she said. Have I reached the afterlife? It doesn't seem like that. I can feel my mother hugging me. I can even smell her perfume. But how can this be real? We are both dead? Of that, I am more than sure. Miss Potter, please. I need to evaluate the state of your son, the healer said. His mother stood back with reluctance and took a handkerchief to clean her tears. The healer waved his wand around and looked at Harry intently. Can you tell me your name, young one? The healer asked. Harry moved his mouth, but no words came out, only some mumbling sounds. I guess you can't speak yet. Is not out of the ordinary. Considering what you went through, can you at least move your head to nod? Harry tried and was able to move his head enough to nod. Excellent. At least your motor and cognitive skills are working. He turned to Lily. We will need to keep him here for now. I need to perform more tests when he has a chance to rest a bit. But is he going to be fine? Are there any problems? Lily asked with worry. Physically, he seems perfectly fine. It's his mind that worries me, but I need him to speak so I can conduct more tests. We will wait for now. He should recover his ability to talk by tomorrow, the healer said before leaving. Lily turned to him. Harry, I need to go call your father. I will be back in a few minutes. Don't worry, okay? Harry nodded, and she left in a hurry. He then started to move his head so he could take a better look at his body. Something felt off. When he looked at his feet, Harry realized what it was. His body was really small, like a child. His mother still called him Harry, and the healer referred to her as Miss Potter, so he was still Harry Potter, but his parents were alive. This did not make any sense at all. So it cannot be time travel. Did I wake up in a different world? He thought about the possibility, no matter how absurd it sounded. There were many magical mysteries still left undiscovered, and parallel worlds were one of them, but they were just theories. No one has ever been able to travel to a parallel dimension and come back to tell the tale. His mother then came back into the room and sat at his side while stroking his hair gently. Everything is going to be okay, she said softly. Yes, I'm not so sure about that, Harry thought. He then felt very tired, and his eyes started to close against his will. It didn't take long before falling asleep once again. Harry found himself inside a big garden. To his left was a luxurious mansion, and to his right was a very dense forest. In front of him was a familiar girl with dark red hair and green eyes like his own ones. This time, she did not look angry, but instead, she looked afraid. Harry, please stop. You are scaring me, she said. The reason for her fear became obvious very quickly. The owner of these memories was holding a wand and pointing it to the girl, who he was now sure must be his sister. Shut up. It's always you. You are the favorite one. Always. Always. He moved the wand around threateningly. The girl started to tear up. I'm not mine. Shut up. If only you and Holly were not here. It would be just me. They would have to love me then. Dad would have to be proud of me then. His voice seems to be getting more deranged. He kept pointing the wand that he stole at his sister. The girl was backing down without looking and tripped over a stone poking from the ground, making her fall on her back and crying in pain. Let's see. The book said it was something like this. He then made a circular wand motion that ended with the wand pointed at his sister. Reduct. Something went wrong. The spell was not cast correctly, and an explosion occurred. The dream stopped there, and Harry woke up. Harry, good morning. Lily was still sitting at the side of his bed. She looked very tired. Good morning, Harry said slowly and with difficulty. His mother's eyes opened wide, and she gasped. You are talking. That's great. You had me a bit worried there. Your father was here last night. He promised to visit during his break from work. She smiled. The door opened up, and the same healer from the day before walked in. Good morning, Miss Potter and Mr. Potter. He took a seat next to Harry. How are you feeling today? Be better, Harry said. I see. He then pulled a potion. Drink this. It will help you recover a bit faster. Harry drank the potion and felt all of the muscles of his body recover a little bit. Hey, how long? Harry said. We'll get to that, but first I need to ask you some questions. The healer pulled up a small book of notes and a quill. What is the last thing you remember? Harry tried, but he didn't seem to have access to any memories of the previous owner of this body, other than the dreams. Was last night's dream the last thing that happened? Did the previous Harry actually die while trying to kill his own sister, and I somehow ended up taking his place? I have so many questions. Harry's thoughts were a mess. I didn't know. Harry thought that it was the safest answer. He could not possibly explain what happened to him. The healer nodded. In which part of England is your house located? He then asked. Harry looked confused. He had no idea. It didn't seem like this version of his parents was living in Godric Hollow if that garden from his dream was their home. I don't know, he said, this time with less difficulty to speak. Harry, what do you mean? You don't know, Lily asked in confusion. Miss Potter, please, let me continue, the healer said, and his mother backed down. What about an easy one? What is your mother's name? He asked. Lily Potter, Harry answered quickly. What about your father?
James Potter.
The healer nodded. What is your sister's name? He asked. Harry looked troubled once more. Crap, I think one of her names was mentioned in the dream, but I cannot remember it. It was something with H. I forgot, Harry said, looking a bit ashamed. His mother gasped, and looked at Harry with worry, but did not interrupt the healer. "I see. One last question. What is your date of birth?" he asked. This one Harry knew well. July 31st, 1980, Harry answered. His mother looked at him with concern once more, and Harry didn't understand why. The healer frowned. "That's not what I have written here, Miss Potter." The healer turned to Lily for clarification. "It's actually July 5, 1980, she said. "Very well. I'll be back in a bit." The healer stood from his chair and started to walk towards the door. Lily approached him and whispered, "Is there something wrong with him? Why can't he remember those things?" "It's still too early to say. I need to consult with a colleague of mine. Now, if you excuse me." The healer made his way out of the room. Lily turned to Harry and tried to give him a reassuring smile, but it was obvious that she was very worried. Sometime later, James Potter arrived at the hospital and came into the room. When he looked at his son, Harry could tell that his father was happy to see him, but also very angry. "James," Lily went to greet her husband, and the two of them hugged. "Hey, Lil, how is he?" he whispered. "The healer is still doing some tests, but for now, just talk to him," Lily said, not wanting to discuss her son's condition in front of him. James approached Harry's bed and sat down. "Hi, son. How do you feel?" James greeted with mixed feelings. "I guess he knows what the other Harry did to end up in the hospital. If I remember correctly, James Potter was an Auror before being killed," Harry concluded. "I'm feeling fine, Dad," he said slowly. The potion the healer gave him was doing effect, and his difficulty speaking was vanishing. Before James had a chance to say anything else, the door opened again, and two men entered. One was the healer that previously attended Harry. "Ah, Mr. Potter, it's good to see you again. This is my colleague." He pointed to the older man next to him. "He is one of the best mind healers in Saints Mungo. I called him here to take a look at your child." "A mind healer?" James asked in confusion before looking at Lily. Lily was going to start explaining when the healer intervened. "I believe it would be better if we discuss this in my office," giving a passing glance at Harry. "My colleague will perform an evaluation of your son's state. In the meantime." James nodded and followed the healer. Lily gave one last smile to Harry before leaving too. Once they are gone, the mind healer will perform a long series of questions, ranging from personal information to some general knowledge. Then he asked Harry to perform some simple tests like recognizing shapes or specific objects in pictures. Harry tried to answer truthfully whenever he could, and would claim ignorance when it came to questions about his personal life. That wasn't a lie either, because he didn't really remember anything that the previous Harry had done, aside from those dreams. Later in the afternoon, the healer and mind healer who attended Harry were discussing their evaluation with the parents. "Selective amnesia?" Lily asked with concern. "Yes, Miss Potter. Your son still has all of his general knowledge intact, but he is unable to remember most details about his personal life. He doesn't even seem to remember the names of his sisters, although he does remember the names of his parents at least," the mind healer explained. "He doesn't remember Lyra and Holly. Are you sure he is being sincere? My son has a history at being, disingenuous, to say the least," James said. "James, how can you say that?" Lily wanted to scream at her husband. James gave her a look. "Am I wrong?" Lily looked down. "Well, no, Harry has always been a bit disobedient." The healer looked at the couple, but didn't say anything. The mind healer then spoke. "Mr. Potter, I have been a mind healer for almost 40 years. If anyone is lying to me, I would know, especially a child. No, your son was telling the truth, and my diagnosis is correct. I can assure you of that." "Then what do we do? Is he going to recover those memories?" Lily asked. "You can take him home. There is no more reason to keep him here. Just be mindful that he may need a reminder of even some basic things, like where is his room or who are his friends. As for recovering his memories, I would say is unlikely, but the mind of a child is very resilient. He will adapt in no time, you'll see." The mind healer said. "Oh, one more thing, Miss and Mr. Potter," the healer said, and everyone turned to face him. "Don't be too surprised if your son's personality changes a bit. Is a normal side effect in cases of amnesia. After all, our memories and experiences are what often defines our personality." "That would be good news," mumbled James. Harry had finally a chance to take a good look at himself when he was changing his clothes before leaving for home. He looked almost exactly the same as he remembered looking at the age of 10, just without the malnourishment and with better clothes. What called his attention the most was the lack of a scar on his forehead. He could not help but wonder how different this world was from his original one, but could not do anything at the moment. His mother noticed Harry moving his hair and touching his forehead. "Is everything okay, Harry? Does your head hurt?" she asked. Harry stopped and looked at her. "Yes, everything is fine. He will have to find an opportunity to find out what important changes this world has." "Are you ready, Harry?" his mother asked while extending her hand. Harry nodded and grabbed it. "You remember apparition, right?" she asked softly, and Harry nodded once more. Lily lifted her wand, and they were gone from the entrance of Saints Mungo. The three of them appeared in front of a huge mansion that Harry did not recognize. "We live here? I don't remember the Potter family being this rich. My trust vault barely had enough to buy a small house. Did the goblins hide another vault from me?" Harry wondered if this house even existed in the other world. Lily and James looked at Harry and noticed the surprised expression he was making. "Don't remember the house?" James asked, still somewhat doubtful if his son was pulling some sick prank, as it would not be the first time. Harry shook his head. "Sorry." "It's okay, dear. Let's go inside," Lily said reassuringly. They made their way through the mansion until they reached a big living room with very expensive-looking decorations. Two girls were lying on a comfortable leather couch. The older one seemed to have reading a book to the younger one. The moment they heard the steps, they both turned around. "Mommy, Daddy!" The young one jumped from the couch and started running towards James and Lily. James knelt down and hugged his daughter. "Hello, love. I'm sorry we're arrived a bit late," James said with a smile. The older girl approached too to greet her parents, but she obviously had more restraint. "Mom, Dad." She smiled at them, then looked at her brother. "Harry," she said with badly contained disdain. Harry gave a sad smile. He knew that earning the trust of this family was going to be difficult, especially for his older sister. "Hi, this is Lyra. She is 1 year younger than you, Harry." Lily placed a hand on her shoulder. "And the little one is Holly. She will be 5 in 1 month. Harry looked at his new sisters. Lyra was the same as in his dreams. She had dark red hair, green eyes, and his mother's nose. She looked like a miniature version of Lily Potter, with darker hair. The young one had black hair and hazel eyes. She had obviously inherited most of her looks from James Potter. The two girls looked at their mother in confusion about why was she introducing them to their brother. "There is something you need to know. Your brother is suffering from something called selective amnesia. That means that he remembers some things but doesn't remember others," Lily explained. "And he doesn't remember us? He is obviously lying to not get in trouble." Lyra spat the words. "No, the mind healer assured us that he was telling the truth," James added, even though he also had his doubts. Lyra looked at Harry with obvious anger.
"Well, I don't believe you. You have always been a liar."
She separated from her mother and stormed out of the living room. "You will have to forgive her, Harry. You may not remember it, but you were always a bit mean to her in the past," Lily said to her son. "A bit." James raised an eyebrow, and Lily gave him a stare that said, "You are not helping." Holly approached Harry and looked up at him. "You don't remember Holly?" she asked innocently. Harry knelt down to stay at his sister's height. "I'm sorry, little one, but I would love to get to know you all over again." Harry smiled and ruffled her hair. Holly giggled, while James and Lily were looking with shock on their faces. Their son had never behaved so cheerfully with anyone. He always seems angry or stressed. After his mother gave him a quick tour of the house, Harry was led to his room. The moment he entered, he was immediately shocked. The bedroom was huge. There was a king-sized bed on one side, a wooden desk with a leather chair, several chests with gold decorations and runic protections, a big wardrobe, many other seemingly expensive things, like a fireplace. He knew it was only logical that his room would be luxurious. After all, he was now living in a mansion. But he could not help to be surprised after spending half of his childhood in a cupboard and the other half in the spare room with broken furniture that his uncle probably got for free in some junkyard. He walked around his room and noticed something sticking from the top of the wardrobe. Using the chair, he managed to get it down. It was a broom. "Whoa, this a Numbus 1900. Best broom of its day. It looks like it was never even used, not even once." It was completely covered in dust and seemed to have been sitting on top of that wardrobe for a while. He then noticed an inscription. "Happy birthday, Harry. We love you. Dad and Mom. 1989. Harry's grip on the broom got stronger as he gritted his teeth in anger. Ungrateful bastard. It seems like the more I find out about that Harry, the less I like him. Something then occurred to him and started to look into the drawers of the desk. Aha, there is one. Harry picked up the small diary and placed it on the desk before sitting down. He had the feeling that an angsty, lonely child who seemed to hate everyone would write his complaints somewhere. The diary only dates back 1 year, starting August 15th, 1990. By the contents, it seems to be Lyra's birthday. He complains about how his father bought her a Nimbus 2000 while they only bought him an older model. I guess he never considered the fact that the Numbers 2000 had just come out that year. He then talks about how Lyra had always been favored by their parents, especially their father. Harry kept flipping the pages and reading the contents. The diary is filled with bitterness against his own family, especially his sister Lyra, whom he seems to be very jealous of. He almost reminds me of Malfoy. 15. The little brat also complains about his lack of friends, while Lyra had many and blames it on his parents. The last pages of the diary had some disturbing contents. Apparently, the other Harry had spent a while planning on stealing his dead grandmother's wand that his father kept stored in their bedroom and making use of it in order to teach his sister a lesson. So, not only did you try to hurt or even kill your sister, but also destroyed your grandmother's memento in the process. Wow, even Malfoy was a lot better than this. How can a different version of me be so different? Harry could not understand it. He now hoped that the reason he appeared in this world was caused by the death of his alter ego. Until he remakes his occlumency shields and creates his mental realm, it would be impossible to scan his mind in search of some remnants of his former being. I swear that if there is anything left of him in there, I will get rid of it. Harry threw the diary in the fireplace and lay on the comfy bed. I don't know how I ended up here, but I have always dreamt of having a family like this one. Maybe some god up there decided to reward me, or maybe this is just some cosmic accident. Whatever the case, I will protect this family with everything I have. The next morning, he went to the kitchen and found his mother preparing breakfast. Good morning, Mum. Harry was starting to get used to having a mother now, but it still felt strange. Lily turned around and smiled. Good morning, Harry. This will take a few more minutes. Harry approached his mother and noticed that she was preparing pancakes, juice, and several other things. Let me help you, Harry said. Lily's eyes opened wide. You want to help me cook? Are you sure? Harry sighed. His parents seemed to go into shock every time he tried to be nice. Sure, he said while taking the pancake butter and started preparing the pancakes. Lily was observing her son with absolute bafflement. You are doing it very well, Harry. When did you learn to cook? Lily asked. Harry shrugged. I don't know, maybe I learned by watching you, and my body somehow remembers it, Harry said. Once they were putting the food on plates, the rest of the family entered the kitchen. The first one was Lyra, who gave her mother a hug and a surprised stare at Harry before sitting down. Then came James, carrying their youngest daughter, Holly, on his shoulder. That smells great, Lil, James said while giving his wife a kiss. Thank you, Harry. Help me with the breakfast, Lily said proudly. James raised an eyebrow. He did. Lyra gave Harry an incredulous look before staring at her breakfast with suspicion. Holly didn't care and started eating. Harry noticed that his father was reading the Daily Prophet.
Dad, can I borrow that when you are done? He said while pointing at the paper.
James seemed a bit surprised, but didn't comment on that. Sure, I only read the front page usually. After having breakfast, Harry went to the sink and was going to start cleaning the dishes when a house elf appeared. Oh no, Master Harry. Mipsy already left Miss Cook. I will do the cleaning, please. Harry was startled for a moment. A house elf? Master Harry. The elf looked confused. Sorry. And Mipsy was it? You see, I was injured recently and lost some of my memories, Harry explained. Oh, Mipsy is sorry to hear that, said the elf. Are you the only house elf here? Harry asked, and the elf nodded. Very well then, I'll leave you to your work. The elf smiled and went to clean. Harry left the kitchen and went to the house library while carrying the newspaper his father gave him. The library was almost as big as the one in Hogwarts and must contain thousands of tomes. Wow! Harry was truly impressed. If only I had grown up in a place like this, maybe things would have ended up differently. He could not help to think. He took a seat on a comfortable leather couch and opened the Daily Prophet. He looked at the top left corner of the first page. June 10, 1991. That means I'm almost 11 years old and there are a few months left before it's Hogwarts time. He managed to acquire a few more bits of information from the articles depicted. The minister was Cornelius Fudge after being mentioned in the passing of a new trading law. Lucius Malfoy seems to still be very close to the minister, as he was shown at his side in the picture taken. Dumbledore is mentioned in the passing of an article about dragon blood. What I need is information on Voldemort. I need to know what else is different. At that moment, Harry heard noises of people approaching before the door to the library opened. Yai! A very excited Holly entered running, while Lily walked some distance behind. Holly noticed Harry and stopped. Hello, Holly. Did you come here to play? Harry asked. She wants me to read her some books, Lily answered while approaching the duo. Yes, books, Holly exclaimed happily. What kind of books do you like? Harry asked. Holly smiled. The ones with the boy who lived, Neville Longbottom. Did you say Neville? Harry asked. Yes, those are her favorite ones. I used to read them to you and your sister Lyra, but you two never liked them that much, Lily said. So, Neville became the boy who lived in this world. Of course, the prophecy must have excluded me, because I was born almost a month earlier, leaving only one choice for Voldemort to attack. When Harry was pondering about the changes in this world and how to gain more information, he suddenly had an idea. Holly, you must have a lot of books about the boy who lived, right? Harry asked his little sister. Holly's eyes illuminated with enthusiasm. I have lots. Holly took Harry's hand and started to lead him towards one of the bookshelves. Lily was watching the interaction with a smile. In the past, Harry had never shown any interest in his little sister. Kids are able to quickly understand when they are not wanted, so Holly never tried to interact with Harry that much either. She must have felt the change in Harry, Lily thought. Once Harry got closer to the shelf, he spotted a lot of books with very colorful covers and the name of Neville Longbottom followed by all sorts of crazy titles. Neville Longbottom and the Hydra of 9 Heads. Neville Longbottom and his trusty red dragon. Neville Longbottom and his magical castle. Wow, did I also have all of that stuff back in my old world? I remember Ginny mentioned some of the books about me she read as a child, but she was too embarrassed about that part of her childhood to go into more details. Harry looked as Holly rushed to a shelf and started to look for something to read. He also started to look around looking for something more historical and less fantastical. On the upper part of the shelf, he found something interesting. The Boy Who Lived and the Downfall of the Dark Lord. Harry picked up the book and started reading the contents. Holly finally decided on a book and brought it to her mother to read it. Let's see. Neville Longbottom was born. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, there it is. On the night of October 31st, 1981, the Dark Lord attacked personally the Longbottom household. Lord and Lady Longbottom battled ferociously, but unfortunately perished in the end. Harry made a pained expression at the mention of the Longbottoms. It seems like Neville's parents had suffered a terrible fate in both worlds. However, when the Dark Lord went to kill the little baby, some miracle of magic occurred. The baby was not only able to survive the killing curse, but it ended up inflicting a crippling wound on the Dark Lord, to the point that he has not appeared again since then. Some believe that the Dark Lord will not come back as long as the Boy Who Lived is in Britain. What? Harry shouted. Harry, is everything okay? Lily asked with worry on her face, wondering what had startled her son so much. Harry looked apologetic at his mother. Sorry, I just read something disturbing. That's all. Lily got closer and took a look at the book that Harry was reading. Ah, is it about you-know-who? You don't have to be afraid of him. He left the country a long time ago and never came back. Lily tried to calm her son down, believing that he must have become scared after reading about what Voldemort did to the Longbottoms. Harry thought that this may be a good chance to gain some extra intel. But what about his followers? He had many, right? Did they also leave? Lily frowned, obviously not liking to talk about this matter. Some of them did leave, many others remained here. Your father knows more about them since he is one of the head Aurors, but he doesn't like to talk about work, Lily explained. I understand. Harry put the book back. I'll go find something else to read, he said, not wanting to upset his mother further. After picking something else, he sat down and looked at his mother and sister. Holly was sitting on her mother's lap while Lily read a story about how Neville Longbottom fought an evil ogre and saved the kidnapped princess from his tower. A soft smile appeared on his face as he observed the two of them. After finishing her book, Holly went to fetch another one and brought it to Harry. Read this, please, she asked. Harry raised an eyebrow. You want me to read you the book? Harry asked, and Holly nodded. Harry looked at his mother, who was approaching. Do you mind? I need to go do some chores before dinner, Lily said. Not at all, Harry said. He was just surprised his mother would trust him that much. I believe your father is outside in the garden, doing something. He took a few free days. If you need anything, you can go to him or call for Mipsy, Lily said before leaving. Holly sat down at his side and handed him the book. After reading for a few minutes, he noticed the presence of someone else in the library. I bet that's the house elf. Mother must have asked her to keep an eye on us, he thought. Harry wasn't really offended. It would have actually been very reckless to leave a 10-year-old who had just come back from the hospital with a brain injury to take care of a 4-year-old with no supervision. Harry ignored the presence of the elf and continued reading for a while. He then noticed Holly started to yawn. Must be nap time, he thought. Mipsy, you can come out, Harry said out loud. The elf appeared in front of them. Master Harry knew I was there, the elf asked. Never mind that. Help me carry my sister to her room so she can sleep, Harry said while picking up Holly, who was starting to close her eyes. He noticed the elf using magic to make her lighter and easier to carry. He thanked the elf and followed her. After leaving his sister in her room with Mipsy, Harry decided to take a walk through the gardens. The moment he went outside, he caught a glimpse of people standing on the grassy field. Right, she said that father would be here, Harry thought. His father and Lyra were holding flying brooms, and his father seemed to be giving her some instructions. They saw him approach and turned to him. Lyra immediately frowned, while his father just seemed a bit surprised. Hi there. Do you mind if I join your flying practice? Harry asked. You want to fly? I thought you didn't like it that much, James said. Harry shrugged. I guess I changed my mind. So, can I? James smiled. Sure you can. Do you remember where your broom is? You know, the one we got you 2 years ago. Yes, I'll go get it. Harry turned around and left for his room. James looked at his daughter, who was making an angry expression. You still believe that he is pretending? He asked. Dad, no one changes that quick. He has to be, Lyra said while looking serious. James observed his daughter with attention. She has always been too mature for her age. I'll tell you one thing. In my work, I have to deal with a lot of liars. And over the years, I have developed a keen eye to discern who is telling the truth and who is lying without the need to use any magic. Lyra looked at him. And, as far as I have observed, Harry seems completely sincere. He saw his daughter was about to protest and raised his hand to indicate that he was not finished. I know is hard to believe, but you should give him a chance. If he is sincere about wanting to change and you keep pushing him away, he may revert back to being the way he was. You don't want that, right? James finished saying. Lyra did not raise any complaints, but she still didn't seem completely convinced. She has been attacked and deceived by her brother too many times in the past. She had wished on many occasions for her brother to change, to become at least tolerable to be around. But this change was just too much, too sudden, and hard to believe. Harry came back with his broom in hand. All right, let's get to flying. Hold down, champ. Let me see that broom. I need to make sure it's in good condition to fly since it hasn't been used for so long, James said while taking the broom. He observed the broom carefully. Did you clean it up? James asked. The broom looked impeccable and well cared for.
This morning. So, can I use it?
James handed the broom to Harry. Yes, it seems in good condition, but let's go slow. I don't know if you remember what happened 2 years ago, James told Harry, and this one shook his head. James sighed. Well, you were very excited about flying a broom at first, but you didn't listen to my advice and decided to fly away recklessly. In the end, you crashed against a tree, broke one arm, and didn't want to touch the broom again. Yes, you were always saying that flying was stupid. Lyra grinned. So that's why he left the broom there, covered in dust. Harry just smiled at her, ignoring her childish taunt. Well, let's try again then. Lyra was surprised by the lack of a bitter response as usual, but didn't say anything else. James got into position. Okay, Harry, get onto the broom and start to ascend slowly. Remember, you need to focus on the broom and deliver the order in a calm and focused manner. Harry did as he was told. As much as he wanted to shoot into the sky, he decided that it would be better to show a slower progression and not give his father a heart attack in the process. Harry started to gain altitude slowly with his father at his side. Very well, Harry. This is high enough. Let's stop here and start to move forward, James said. Oh, Merlin, this is going to be so dull, Harry thought. Lyra seemed to agree as she started to fly away from the duo at great speed. Don't go too far, Lyra. Stay inside the property limits, James said in a commanding tone, and Lyra responded with an annoyed, I know, Dad. Harry and James started to fly around the garden very slowly and only a few feet off the ground. My first flying lesson in Hogwarts was more exciting than this. Harry could not help to think, but kept his patience and continued with the exercise. At least he could get a good view of the house and its surroundings. The house itself was not as massive as he first thought. He was more impressed with how isolated the house was. All around it was a grassy plain, and in the distance he could see a thick forest that extended in all directions. A closer inspection was needed, but at first glance, it looked like the grassy fields were indicating the limits of the wards. If that was the case, this property was around half the size of Hogwarts. In the end, the boring lesson did not matter to him that much. Instead, he cared about the fact that he was flying on a broom next to his father. This was something he had dreamed of since he found out James Potter was a great Quidditch player in school. After almost an hour of practice, James told Harry to stop for the day. "You did great, Harry. You know, I have the entire week off work. If you want, we can practice every day for a bit," James offered with a sincere smile. "Yes, I would love that, Dad," said Harry. Even though the practice was a bit boring, he could not help but be genuinely happy at spending time with his father like that. Lyra then descended from the sky with her Numbus 2000. "Oh, you two slowpokes are done?" James gave her a warning look. Harry chuckled. "Yes, we are done for today. I'll see you at dinner, Lyra." After Harry left, James approached his daughter. "He doesn't react to anything. The Harry I knew would have gotten angry with much less," Lyra said. James raised an eyebrow. "Stop trying to provoke him. That's a bad idea." "I just wanted to get a reaction." "Are you sure you brought the right Harry from the hospital?" Lyra asked. Harry was slowly getting used to his new life. It seems like his parents were beginning to believe that he had changed for the better and was not going back to his old self. He had gotten very close to his youngest sister, Holly. She was very fun to be around and always cheerful. His other sister, Lyra, is still distant, but at least she has stopped trying to provoke him. Harry didn't mind, and just found her attempts entertaining, to be honest. After all, it was just a 9-year-old using childish insults against someone who had gone through 2 wars. It would be needed a lot more than that to provoke him into action. Harry had spent a great deal of his time exploring the library, looking for any useful information or anything that he could have missed. He will not let his guard down after finding out that Voldemort is still alive, even if he is hiding in a different country. Using old newspapers that thankfully Mipsy kept stored, and some new history books about the recent war, he had managed to gather a lot of information. As The Boy Who Lived book had said, Voldemort seemed to have suffered some crippling injury instead of dying, and fled the country. Neville was acclaimed as the boy who lived, and everyone considered him a national hero. It is rumored that he was raised by his grandmother in a distant castle since the main Longbottom household was severely damaged, but the exact location of this castle was never revealed to protect him. Harry felt sorry for Neville. The boy now will have to deal with some of the things he did in his past life. Fame had brought him nothing but misery, with people turning against him at every turn. Even with Voldemort's absence, many Death Eaters remained in England and would launch attacks every so often to remind the country that they were not completely gone. That meant that the war had never ended, officially at least, but the public had mostly moved on since there hadn't been any big attacks. Another big difference was that Sirius never went to Azkaban since his parents were not attacked by Voldemort directly, but they were still important enemies of the Dark Lord and were attacked by Death Eaters many times. Many did not survive the war, and unfortunately, Sirius was one of the victims. Wormtail was revealed to be a traitor when he and some other Death Eaters got into a fight with Sirius and some other wizards that Harry remembers being old members of the Order of the Phoenix. In the resulting fight, Sirius and Marlene McKinnon died, along with several Muggles who were caught in the crossfire. Wormtail became a wanted man that day, and has not been seen since then. Harry's best guess is that Wormtail disclosed the secret location of the Order headquarters, and they took the chance to launch a big attack. Remus was still alive and well. His father had mentioned that he would be visiting for Harry's birthday. Sirius, he felt nothing but bitterness at the thought of not being able to see his godfather, and felt like he had lost him all over again. "I'll make sure that Wormtail suffers for this. I swear this to you, Sirius." He made another promise to himself. It was the day before his birthday, and Harry had decided to go make breakfast by himself. He was surprised to find his sister, Lyra, already in the kitchen. "Good morning. You got up very early today," Harry greeted. Lyra looked up from her glass of milk. "I was thirsty. What about you?" "I'm going to make breakfast for everyone." Harry walked to the counter and started picking up the ingredients he needed. "By yourself? Are you sure you know what you are doing? I don't want to be poisoned." Lyra smirked. "Well, you can stay and try the food first if you want," Harry offered while he kept working. "You have been spending a lot of time with Holly lately," Lyra said with a serious expression. Harry raised an eyebrow and looked at his sister, wondering where this was going. I have not told Dad everything about what happened that day. Only that you were playing with Grandma's wand and got hurt on accident, Lyra said. Harry was surprised. She lied to protect me? That would explain why his parents weren't more angry with him, especially his father. But if you hurt my sister, our sister, Harry corrected her, and I would rather die than hurt any member of this family. Lyra was taken aback by how intense was Harry when he said that, and she didn't doubt that he meant every word. You really have changed, Lyra was forced to admit. After a moment of silence between the two of them, she spoke once more. Fine, I'll stay and be the first one to try your food. It better be good. She pointed her finger at him and went back to her drink. I'll give you one last chance, Harry. Last one, I swear. Lyra thought to herself. You'll see. Harry smiled and went back to work. Yummy, Holly said happily while eating. There were Cornish potato cakes, sausages, eggs, bacon, and seared tomatoes. This is really good, Harry, James said while eating and drinking his coffee. You know you don't have to, right, Harry? I only prepare breakfast once a week because Mipsy gets upset if I take too much work away from her, Lily said. I know, Mom. I just felt like doing it today, Harry answered before looking at Lyra, who gave him a reluctant thumbs up. Harry remembers well the last birthday he celebrated. It was his 20th birthday, and the only reason he even agreed to it was because of the insistence from Hermione and Ron. They had already lost many loved ones, and the war was going at full force, but his friends thought that a small celebration would bring some happiness to their miserable lives. The party was interrupted when a horde of demons destroyed the safe house they were in. Many of their allies died that day. Harry received his second permanent scar, and Ron lost his left leg. They learned a lesson that day. No more celebrating until the war was over. Harry was interrupted by his dark thoughts when his father knocked on the door. Harry, your Uncle Remus is here. Come to say hi, James said. Rememmels, he did not know what he was going to say to that man. Harry went downstairs and found Remus talking with his mother. He looked a lot better than the one he remembered, which would not be too hard since the Remus he knew dropped dead during the first attack on Hogwarts. This Remus Lupin was wearing clean new clothes, trimmed hair, and was clean-shaved. If it wasn't for his senses detecting the dark aura of the werewolf inside him, Harry would have believed that this version of Remus was never cursed to begin with. He looks like one of those businessmen that Vernon liked to bring home for dinner, Harry thought. Remus turned to look at Harry when he heard him approach. Here you are. Happy birthday, Harry. Remus smiled for a moment before he seemed to remember something. Oh, your mother told me what happened to you, and, well, do you remember me? Remus asked hesitantly. As much as Harry hated to disappoint this man, he could not claim to remember him after not remembering his sisters. And to be fair, he did not know anything about this version of Remus Lupin. Sorry, Uncle Remus, I don't remember much, Harry said apologetically. Remus put a hand on his shoulder and smiled softly. It's okay, Harry, it's not your fault. Hey, you can get to know your Uncle Remus today. We are all going to have dinner together for your birthday. Lily tried to cheer them up. Dinner was a quiet affair. Harry didn't seem to have any friends of his age, so it was only the family and Remus. Holly was starting to get bored after finishing her meal, so Lily took her to her room to read her a book before sleep. Lyra excused herself and went to her room, leaving Remus, James, and Harry alone. So Harry, your father was telling me before that you have been learning who to fly in a broom, Remus said. Yes, he taught me for a week, and I have been practicing every day since then, answered Harry. That's great. You know, your father used to be a great flyer back in our school days. He even played in the Quidditch team. I'll let you know that I am still a great flyer, and I didn't just play in the team. I was the best chaser in the school, James bragged while laughing. Well, I don't know that much about Quidditch, but I do enjoy flying. Harry tried to seem sincere, at least. I'm sure your father will get you started with the game soon enough, Revengeance said. He can't join the team until second year, so we still have plenty of time, James said. Some days after, an owl made its way into the Potter Manor and landed on the kitchen table in front of Harry while the family was having breakfast. Is that what I think it is? Lily asked. Go on, Harry, pick up the letter, James said with a smile. Harry recognized the seal on the letter immediately and picked it up, then gave some bacon to the owl. He opened the envelope and read its contents. It's a letter from Hogwarts. I have been accepted to join the school, said Harry before handing the letter to his mother. Lily made a jump of joy to celebrate. Yes, I'm so proud, Harry. Were you doubting that he was going to be accepted in Hogwarts? Asked Lyra. Lily raised her hands defensively. Of course not. I knew my boy would get in. What a Hogwarts? Asked Holly. It's Hogwarts, dear, and is a school for magical people. You will go there too when you are older, said James. Hey, I just remember, Daphne told me that the boy who lived will be attending Hogwarts this coming year. Maybe you get to meet him, Lyra said while looking at Harry. Really? Can I meet him too? Said Holly excitedly. Daphne? Not, it can't be that one. Harry looked at his little sister. I'm sure you'll meet him one day, but when you do, just treat him normally, okay? I'm sure he doesn't like this whole boy who lived stuff. Why wouldn't he like being famous? Wondered Lyra. I hope that this Neville is as good as the one I knew, Harry thought. He may have been a bit clumsy at first, but over the years, Neville proved himself to be a competent and brave wizard. He fought valiantly at his side to the end, never giving up. You talk like you know him already, said Lyra with suspicion. Harry reacted quickly. I don't, but he had a very hard life, and I'm sure he doesn't like to be reminded of what he lost. Lyra looked surprised. She hadn't thought about that, but it was true that Britain's hero had lost his family during the Dark Lord attack, and calling him the boy who lived was just a reminder of that day. You talk like an old man, she ended up shouting like the child she was. Those are very wise words, Harry, his mother said with admiration. Yes, well said, son, said James. Harry and Lily were walking through the streets of Diagon Alley. After receiving his letter, Lily told him that it was time for him to get a wand and buy all of the other supplies they needed. His father was busy with work, and Lyra had to stay at home to take care of Holly, who could not come because, according to his mother, it would take them all day to finish the shopping if they had to bring her. Besides, Holly's birthday would be shortly before his trip to Hogwarts, so his mother wanted to take the chance to buy her a good present. Harry, on the other hand, was just enjoying spending some time with his mother alone. Here we are, Lily said as they arrived at the door of Ollivander's. They went inside and were greeted by a familiar old man. Welcome, Ollivander looked at Lily for a moment. 10 inches, willow wood, and a phoenix feather core, if I remember correctly. Lily smiled and took out her wand. That's correct, Mr. Ollivander. I hope it has served you well, the old man said. It has, thank you, but today we are here for my son. Lily put her hand on Harry's shoulder and nudged him forward. Don't be afraid of him. Mr. Ollivander has always been a bit peculiar. Ollivander chuckled at the comment, but did not seem one bit offended. Instead, looked proud of it. He then turned his eyes to Harry. Of course, getting your first wand is a very exciting experience, young one. Harry smiled softly. If only Ollivander knew the number of wands and other types of foci that Harry had to use over the years. The old man did some measurements and went to pick up some wands before coming back. He opened one of the boxes, pulled out a wand, and handed it to Harry. Go on, give it a try. The moment Harry picked it up, he felt the unicorn hair that was used as a core. He directed his magic through the wand with ease, and this one started to shine. Ollivander gasped in surprise. A match on the first try? In all of my years, I have never seen this before. Harry placed the wand back on the counter. I prefer one with a phoenix feather if you don't mind, Mr. Ollivander. The man made a complicated expression. Young man, that is not how it works, I'm afraid. The wand chooses the wizard, and this one has already chosen you. Humor me, please, Harry asked. Harry, Lily did not understand why her son was asking for a different one when that one seemed to be a good match, but she believed that her son must have a reason, so she turned towards Ollivander. Mr. Ollivander, if you don't mind? Sigh, very well. Let's see. Phoenix feather. I only have a few of those. He went to the back of the shop and started to pull out boxes. He then went back to the counter with 2 boxes and opened up in front of Harry. The one on the left had a dark wooden color and was about 10 inches long. The one on the right was 11 inches long and was made of holly. Harry smiled at seeing his old wand and was very tempted to pick it up. No, if Neville is the boy of the prophecy this time, he may need that wand. He took the other wand and noticed a sight of relief on Ollivander's face. The moment he picked it up, the wand illuminated the entire room and a rush of wind came from Harry, pushing everything away. Lily grasped the counter to keep her balance, and Ollivander had to hide behind it. When the phenomenon ended, the old man rose up and looked at Harry in disbelief. 2 connections, and this one was much stronger than the previous wand. Amazing. I have never seen a phenomenon like this before in my long life. Yes, that was quite something, Lily said, looking a bit shaken. I like this one. Harry smiled. After leaving the wand shop, Lily took the box containing Harry's new wand and put it inside her purse. "You can have it when it's time to go to school. I'll keep it safe until then." Harry just shrugged. He understood where she was coming from. The last time her son tried to use a wand, he ended up in the hospital, and is not even allowed for him to use a wand before attending Hogwarts anyway. "Let us go to Madame Malking's to get your measurement done. Then we can go to the library next. That way can get your school books and some fun storybooks for—" "Don't we need a suitcase to start putting things inside?" he asked. Lily tapped her purse. "I have one in here. It has been reduced using a charm. It used to belong to your dad. I'm sure you will like it," she said with a lovely smile. Harry just followed her lead everywhere during their long shopping trip. He could not help but be mesmerized by the sights. This location was one of the first places destroyed during the last war. Seeing it back in perfect shape and filled with happy people felt so surreal to him. His life back at the Potter Mansion during the last weeks has been like a dream to Harry. He could not help to think that maybe he was actually dead, and this was his heaven, but seeing Diagon Alley has brought him back to reality. This was definitely not a dream, and not the afterlife. Their next stop was the pet shop, Magical Meagery. Could she still be here? He wondered. Owls are very useful, but you could also get a cat if you want. Just please don't get a toad. Lily made a disgusted expression. Harry was too distracted to listen to what she was saying. He went directly to the section with the owls. There were 5 left, but none of them were Hedwig. He would have immediately recognized her as she was the only snowy owl in the shop. "Oh, an owl. Which one do you like?" His mother seemed to have mistook his intention. He was not looking for just any owl. "Excuse me, sir." He went directly to the shopkeeper and asked about a pure white snow owl. "Ah, that one. Yes, we had her for a while. She wouldn't get along with anyone, but just 2 days ago, the boy who lived himself came to my shop and took a liking to that particular owl. Can you believe it?" "I see," Harry muttered. "So she is with Neville then." He thought that maybe it was some sort of fate. "Harry, is everything all right?" Lily came to his side. "If you don't find one that you like, there is another shop on the other side of the alley." Brendam's? "Madam, you won't find better magical pets than the ones I have right here," the shopkeeper proclaimed with pride. "No, it's okay. I think I changed my mind. I won't be getting any familiar pet after all," Harry told her. Their shopping trip took quite a while. They were currently in their last location, an ingredient shop for potions. It wasn't the one most people go to, but one that was located in one of the inner alleys. During her student days, Lily was a very talented potioner, and her professor had introduced her to this particular potion shop. Since then, she always made her purchases here instead of the most popular one. She became close friends with the owner and was always given a discount. "Okay, I think we have everything." Lily went over the school list one more time after paying for the ingredients. "Are you sure you don't want a familiar pet? If you get an owl, you can use it to send letters to us," suggested his mother for the second time. "No, I can use the school owls to send messages. Don't worry about it." He had no intention of replacing Hedwig. "Well, if you don't want you, that's fine." Lily decided to not push the issue anymore. If Harry did not want a pet, that was fine. Maybe he will change his mind after Lyra gets one next year, she thought. By the time the mother and son duo left the ingredients shop, the sky was already starting to turn dark. "Oh my, we took a bit too long for this shopping trip," said Lily while looking upwards. "That's because you wasted 2 hours in the potion shop chatting with the owner and browsing ingredients, not to mention how long it took to find a present for Holly." Harry wanted to complain. There was little light left in the alley. Soon the magical candles all around Diagon Alley would turn on, and many shops would start to close, leaving only some bars and restaurants. Their current location was a short distance away from the main street and not considered a dangerous place by any means, but for some reason, Harry could not help to have a bad feeling as soon as they left behind the door of the shop. Over the years, he had learned to trust his instincts as they were honed over many battles, and this has saved him many times. "We should hurry back to the main street." Harry looked around while they were walking. Lily looked at her son. "It's okay, sweetie. I know it's a bit dark now, but this alley is very safe, and there are always plenty of people around." But as she looked, she realized there was no one. Her expression changed, her kind smile replaced by the focused face of someone who had faced danger many times before. When she heard steps behind her, her wand was already out. "Stupefy!" A red speck of light came out of her wand and impacted the body of a masked man wearing dark robes that Lily immediately recognized. "Oh no, Harry, stay behind me." "Don't just turn around, we are surrounded," said Harry in a calm voice. Adava Kedavra. Harry pushed his mother out of the way just as a green light passed by. Lily saw this happen and held herself against a wall in the narrow street, having a hard time processing how close she had come to dying. She could now clearly notice that there were 5 assailants in total, 2 behind, one of which was now unconscious thanks to her spell from before, and 3 more on the other side of the alley. "You idiot, we need her alive," the tallest one in the group spoke with authority. So he immediately revealed who is the one in charge and what their mission was. "I have to admit, I have grown accustomed to being the target. This is kind of new, but also troublesome." Harry considered for a moment how to act. He acknowledged that his mother was a powerful witch, but she won't be able to fight against 4 opponents while being surrounded in this narrow alley. Spells started to rain on her while completely ignoring Harry, as none of the Death Eaters considered him a threat at all. Lily did an admirable job of defending herself from the assault while keeping an eye on her son. She may even be able to escape had she been by herself. Harry saw a nasty fire-type curse approach Lily while she was busy deflecting another curse and decided to intervene. He created a wandless Protego shield to stop the spell, but it was not enough to completely block the magic. Ah! Lily yelped in pain as her hand was burned and her wand turned into cinders, leaving only the phoenix feather that Ollivander used as the core levitating slowly to the ground. Lily lost her balance and fell with her back against the wall while clutching her injured hand. This body lacks the power to perform wandless magic correctly. Harry admonished himself for not putting more force onto the shield. Got her! Finally, the Death Eaters celebrated in joy. Harry moved to Lily's side and examined her wound. She had some second-degree burns, nothing that a bit of magic could not fix in a few minutes. "Harry, run! Run to the main street!" She looked at him with pain and despair. He had seen that look before, and he did not like seeing it on his mother. Someone was going to suffer a lot from this. Harry focused on circulating his magic and constructing the spell with utmost care. The palm of his hand gained a white shine to it, indicating his success. "I can do this much without a wand, at least." He lamented his lack of preparation for the current situation. He placed his hand on his mother's shoulder, and before this one was able to speak again, Lily felt an overpowering wish to fall asleep. Harry observed his mother as she closed her eyes. He did not want her to see what he was about to do to these men. If I did the spell correctly, her memory should be fuzzy when she wakes up.
What happened?
Did she pass out from the shock or something? The attackers did not understand why his mother went unconscious all of a sudden. Harry took their moment of confusion to grab the phoenix feather from the remains of her mother's wand and held it in his right hand. He knew that it would be pointless to put his hand inside his mother's bag to retrieve his own wand. Those bags have strong security measures to prevent anyone but the owner from retrieving the objects inside, and it will take too long to crack open. Maybe I should have asked her to give me the wand, or to take the wand for herself. Well, too late for that now. This will do. He held the feather between extended 2 fingers and wrapped it around them, forming an improvised wand of sorts. Wands are easy to break, so one has to learn some tricks like this to survive. I won't be able to cast anything too complex like transfiguration, but I should manage some elemental magic at least. "What do we do with the kid?" one of them asked. "Take him out," commanded the leader. The one next to him looked to his side. "You go get him, Casey. I don't like brats."
Fuck! Don't say my name, Kyle!
Novices. Harry would have smiled had the situation been different. There were 4 hostile targets in total, 3 in front of him and 1 behind. The alley was narrow, so there wasn't much space to dodge and get past them. Not that escaping was an option to begin with. He glanced at his unconscious mother. Priority is to protect her, and second to eliminate the targets. If I take care of the one at the back, I can then act as a shield against the rest. One of the men in the front was calmly approaching Harry with his wand in hand while the rest waited. This gives me a better chance. Let's start with him. "Please don't hurt me, mister." Harry used his best acting skills to make a desperate expression and begged the approaching man. The masked man, called Kyle, let out a chuckle. "Sorry, brat, you just got unlucky, being born to that mudblood traitor." His voice was juvenile. Harry determined that he must not be much older than 18. They are using new graduates for grunt work. Not that surprising, I guess. He thought to himself while waiting for the man to get a bit closer. He was right between Harry and the 2 others behind him when the masked boy stopped. "I'll make this quick at least." The young Death Eater looked at the sad child without an ounce of compassion, pointed his wand at him, and began to cast a blood-boiling hex. a dark spell that is considered to administrate very painfully and slow death to its victims. The downside is its average casting time, but considering that his target is an unarmed child, the Death Eater saw no danger in his decision to make his victim suffer a bit longer. What happened next was something that none of them could have anticipated, not even in their wildest dreams. Ignis, a cold voice that could not belong to a young child, was heard, and a wave of flames came into existence in front of him before moving forward in a straight line until it made contact with its intended target. The young Death Eater did not even have time to process what happened when he found himself engulfed in flames. Harry spun around to face the lone target at the back, and after a swift motion, he spoke again. Incendium. 6 iridescent liquid flames appeared and splashed all over the man's white mask. His entire head started to melt before the intense heat, not even allowing him to opportunity scream for more than a second before collapsing onto the ground, lifeless. The young Death Eater kept screaming. Kyle's body was completely covered in fire and the pain was overwhelming. Move, the leader of the group ordered. His subordinates had placed themselves in the way, and they were unable to see what was going on. They just heard Harry mutter 2 words and saw Kyle exploding in flames. As soon as the screaming boy went down, the 2 remaining Death Eaters were able to assess the situation better. They saw that their other partner was lying down and was not moving at all. The woman was still unconscious, and the boy, who should be dead, was pointing his finger at them with something bright tied around it. The leader did not have time to draw conclusions on how was this possible. How could a little unarmed child kill 2 of his men, no matter how young and inexperienced they were? The last recruit at his side looked to be in shock and unable to move at seeing 2 of his friends killed in a matter of seconds. This is no time to hesitate. The leader was already pointing his wand at the child. If that's even a child. The words already coming out of his lips, the words that he has said so many times over the years. Adavake Fulman. The veteran Death Eater was fast, no doubt about that. But few things were as fast as what Harry had just called into existence. A bolt of lightning impacted the man's chest and came out of his back, while turning his insides into charcoal. The young Death Eater at his side was not hit by the lighting directly, but was unfortunately close enough for an arc of lighting to jump into his body. The electrical discharge was not very strong, but it was more than enough to stop his hearth. Harry frowned at the display. Those spells that he had just used should have caused a lot more damage than they did. How weak. I'll have to do something about that. His displeasure, however, did not last long. He looked at the hand that was holding the phoenix feather and saw how badly burned it was. This was a natural side effect of using your own flesh and bones as the casing for the wand core. Had his spell been a bit more powerful, Harry would have likely lost his entire hand. As he went to take another step, a sharp pain traveled through his body like a shock. He immediately recognized this particular pain. He had suffered from it a few times in the past, but never this quick. Damn it, just 3 lousy spells and my magic reserves are nearly exhausted. The sound of steps could be heard, and Harry knew that he had little time before people arrived here. It was closing time at Diagon Alley. So few were still around, but the commotion from the fight was loud enough for everyone remaining in the alley to have heard it. With great difficulty, Harry removed the phoenix feather from his burned fingers and stored it safely in one of his inner pockets before moving to his mother's side and sitting down. He was completely exhausted and his body was about to shut down. The last thing he heard was a woman screaming in horror and a man saying, "Oh, by Merlin, what happened here?" When Harry opened his eyes again, he found himself in a familiar room. He had, very recently, spent some time in this place. Back to Saints Mungo, huh? He was not alone, however. As he moved his head around, he was able to spot the sleeping figure of his mother on the next bed. He looks at his right hand. It is covered in bandages. That's what happens when you cast magic with only the wand core. The burns shouldn't be too bad. Memories of the last events were replayed before his eyes, and he started to analyze them, looking for flaws or things he could have done better. This was something he had grown accustomed to doing after every battle. It's okay to make mistakes as long as you live to learn from them. Those were the words he used to repeat to all recruits that he trained and to himself. I could have done better. He admonished himself for his poor performance. Fighting without a proper wand was one thing, but he should have made an effort to get a better handle on his current body and magic. That was the main reason for his failure. It would be difficult to train properly at home, but as soon as I'm back at Hogwarts, I can make use of that room again, he concluded. The door of the room opened, and a group of people entered. Harry, James Potter rushed to his side and gave him a tight hug. Oh, thank Merlin. He wanted to tell the man that he had only suffered from some magical exhaustion and a burned hand, and that it was no big deal, but decided to hold himself and kept silent. How are you feeling? Are you okay? His father asked, face filled with worry. Despite the many disappointments he had suffered at the hands of his son, he could not help but care for him. I'm fine, Dad. His eyes moved to the next bed.
How is Mom?
She got her hand a bit burned, but is nothing serious. She is just sleeping now. She was very tired. James did his best to not make a big deal out of it for the sake of Harry. One of the two men who came into the room with his father spoke. James, I need to, He seemed hesitant to speak like he was afraid of offending his father. He was wearing oro robes and a bag. Harry could already imagine what he wanted. The other one was an older man wearing a white robe. Before any of that, I need to examine my patient, he said with a disapproving frown. The old healer walked to Harry and smiled at him.
Good morning, Mr. Potter. How are you feeling?
He asked while performing some mild scans with his wand. Harry wanted to roll his eyes at all the unnecessary medical attention. I feel fine, Mr. Healer. Just a mild discomfort on my right hand. Yes, I will give you an ointment for that. Your hand should be good as new by tomorrow. He waved his wand around a few more times before nodding. Everything seems in order, Mr. Potter. So, can I take him home? Asked James. Call me when your wife wakes up so I can give her another check and then you can all go home, said the healer before walking to the door. So, the Auror approached a few more steps and looked at James. His father gave the Auror a serious look before going back to Harry. Son, this person right here is one of my coworkers. He needs to ask you a few questions about what happened yesterday in the alley. Is okay if you don't remember much. Just tell him whatever you can recall. Is that okay? Harry gave him a nod, and James smiled at him before he moved to one side, allowing the other Auror to get closer to his bed.
Hello, Harry. I'm Will, a friend of your dad. I just need to ask you a few questions. It will be quick. You went yesterday shopping with your mom. We know that the last shop you visited was an ingredient shop in one of the inner alleyways. What happened next? He made his best impression of the confused child. It was dark, we were walking, and then Mom got very nervous. Some masked men started casting spells at Mom. She got burned, and then she fell, and then they threw something at me, and my hand started to hurt, and... Yes, and what happened next? Did someone else come to help you? The Auror asked. I see. They just want to know who killed the Death Eaters, since there is no chance that an unarmed 11-year-old could have anything to do with that. Yes, someone wearing a dark robe appeared and started fighting against the bad guys. Both James and Will became very attentive at the mention of the dark-robed individual. What can you tell us about this person? Asked the Auror. I can tell you that it was a man, by the voice, but I could not see his face. It was very dark, and he was wearing a hood. I see. Both Will and James looked disappointed.
Anything else? Did you see this man beat the bad guys? Harry shook his head. No, I remember that he pointed his wand at me for a moment and saw some red light. Then I woke up here. A stunner, most likely. Probably for the best, said James, thinking about the gruesome state that the Death Eaters were left. Will sighed. A dark hooded man. That doesn't give us much to go on. No, but whoever that man was, he saved my family, said James. Yes, but he also killed several members of magical noble families in a very... The Auror coughed to clear his throat when he realized what he was about to say in front of a child. Sorry, I should get going. I'll present what I have to Madame Bones. She is going to throw a fit. The Auror sighed again and stood up to leave. Harry, Lily Potter had opened her eyes. I'm fine. Harry had to raise his voice after his mother refused to let go of him for the past 5 minutes. Lil, come on, let the boy breathe a bit, said James with amusement. I was so scared, she cried. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you. Calm down, Mom. We are all fine. Harry looked at his dad. Oh, I just recalled something. Dad, where's my jacket? Is inside the small wardrobe on the corner. Do you remember something else about the attack? He asked while opening the dresser and taking his small jacket. Something like that. Harry extended his hand and grabbed the piece of clothing from his father. Lily and James watched with attention, wondering what Harry could be looking for now. They then saw him pulling out a fiery red feather from the inner pick. Ah, good. Is still there, Harry said with elation. A phoenix feather. Lily was the first one to recognize the item in question. Not just a phoenix feather. He handed it to his mother. This is your wand core. I managed to retrieve it from the ground after your wand was burned and put it in my jacket." "Well done, Harry," exclaimed James. "If you bring it to Ollivander, I'm sure he can recreate your old wand with no problems," he told his wife. Lily said nothing and just hugged her son again. After leaving the hospital, there was only a week left before it was time for school. They celebrated Holly's birthday, and Harry made sure to enjoy his time with his family, as one would never know what the future held for them. As the date approached, Harry wondered how different his first year at Hogwarts was going to be in this alternate reality. Voldemort was alive, Neville was the boy who lived, and his family was alive, and he had 2 new sisters. What else would be different? September 1st, King Cross Station. "Are you sure we are not forgetting anything?" asked a worried Lily. "I am sure. And you helped me pack, remember?" said Harry, looking at the familiar train with increasing anticipation. "Do you really have to leave?" Holly looked at him with teary eyes. During the last few weeks, the two of them have grown very close. Harry would often read her stories, and they spent a lot of time together. Harry knelt next to her.
I do, but it won't be for long. I'm coming back for Christmas, and I will write you letters every week, okay? He used his finger to clean up the tears.
Holly sniffed and nodded with reluctance, and Lily picked her daughter up. "Well, son," James patted him in the back. "Remember, it doesn't matter what house you get sorted into. We will be proud of you, no matter what." "Of course we will. You don't, huh?" Lily was interrupted by James. "Even if it is Slytherin, although hopefully not," his father said the last part in a low voice. Lily gave him a stern look. "I'll remind you that one of my best friends was in that house." James raised his hands up. "Let us not start that argument again. I don't want to talk about that guy." "Well, you are going to see him again at some point. He is going to be one of Harry's teachers," said Lily, while James grumbled something they couldn't hear. Harry looked at his sister Lyra. She returned the look and nodded politely. Their relationship has improved a lot from what it once was, but Harry knew that it was going to take more time to heal those wounds completely. He offers her a sincere smile and a goodbye. "Look, it's him! Is the boy who lived." A commotion started to break out as soon as Neville Longbottom arrived at the station. Harry was not able to see Neville as he seemed to have been surrounded by a crowd of people. I wonder what kind of person has Neville become this time. The one he knew was still very clumsy and insecure at this point in time. His upbringing under Augusta Longbottom was not a pleasant one. The woman was hard and strict. She would push her grandson to his limits and constantly remind him that he was not as good as his father. Both he and Neville had very harsh childhoods, but it was also this that gave them their humility and empathy. He looked at the crowd for a bit longer before deciding to move one. He would be seeing Neville later on in any case, and there would be plenty of opportunities to meet this new version of the boy who lived. He finished his goodbyes to his family and embarked on the train. He wanted to get on one of the last train cars before it got too crowded. As he walked through the hallway, he spotted some familiar faces. It is somewhat hard to recognize them while being this young, but he encounters Susan Bones, Seamus, and Lavender Brown. Where is he? Can you see it? Harry stopped in front of one of the cabins. With an open door, he heard a familiar voice. Inside, it was a little boy with blonde hair. He was looking out of the window at the crow. 2 burly boys were at his sides. "I can't find it. There are too many people here," said one of the big boys. "You two are useless. Let me know when he enters the train." The blonde boy, who was a very young Draco Malfoy, sat down while frowning. Harry decided to move on before Malfoy saw him. He didn't want to deal with that little troublemaker at this moment. He finally reached the very last cabin and looked inside. Only one person was sitting there, one that he remembered very well. A girl with crazy bushy hair was peacefully reading a thick book that was obviously not part of this year's curriculum. Harry opened the door, and she looked up from her book. "May I sit here?" Little Hermione Granger smiled at him. "Of course.